I'm 42. Using a throwaway because I honestly don't know how to admit this out loud to anyone who knows me. I was married for 14 years. 2 kids. A house full of noise, routines, and unfinished projects. From the outside, we probably looked boring. And for a long time, I thought that was a good thing. Boring meant safe. Predictable. Ours. My wife and I met in our late 20s. She was passionate, emotional, intense in a way that pulled people toward her. I was calmer, more grounded. We used to joke that she was the fire, and I was the anchor. For years, that balance worked. Life didn't fall apart suddenly. It softened first. Long workdays turned into silence at dinner. Conversations turned into logistics. Love turned into habit. She started saying she felt lonely even when we were in the same room. That I wasn't seeing her anymore. I listened, or at least I thought I did, but I didn't feel the urgency she did. I kept telling myself this was just what long marriages looked like. A rough season. Something we'd get through like everything else. There were signs I didn't want to name. She was on her phone more. She smiled at messages she wouldn't share. She seemed restless, like she was waiting for something I couldn't give her. But I trusted her. Completely. She was my wife. The mother of my children. The person who knew every weak spot I had. The idea that she could betray me felt impossible, almost insulting, so I never let it fully form in my mind. At the time, I truly believed we were just tired. I didn't realize we were already standing on the edge of something that would destroy everything we built. The day everything cracked wasn't dramatic. That's the part that still messes with my head. It was a random Tuesday. I'd taken the day off because my youngest had a school event that got cancelled last minute. I came home earlier than usual, just to grab a charger and maybe sit in the quiet for a minute before the kids got back. Her phone was on the kitchen counter. I wasn't snooping. I want to be clear about that, because I've replayed this moment 1,000 times trying to figure out where I crossed the line. The phone lit up on its own. A message preview popped up. A name I didn't recognize. And a sentence I can't forget. I can't stop thinking about last night. I actually laughed at first. Not because it was funny, but because my brain refused to accept it. I told myself it had to be a mistake. A group chat. A joke taken out of context. Anything except what it obviously was. Then the phone buzzed again. Tomorrow won't be enough. My chest tightened. I remember sitting down because my legs felt weak, like they weren't fully attached to my body anymore. I stared at that screen longer than I should have, like if I looked hard enough, the words would rearrange themselves into something harmless. They didn't. For the next hour, I paced the house like a stranger in my own life. Every photo on the wall suddenly felt fake. Every memory felt rewritten. I kept thinking, if this is real, then my entire marriage is about to split into a before and an after. When she came home, I didn't confront her right away. I watched her take off her shoes. Kiss me on the cheek like nothing was wrong. Ask what was for dinner. That kiss felt like betrayal all on its own. At some point, I heard myself ask, very calmly, "Who is he?" She froze. Not confused. Not offended. Just completely still, like an animal that knows it's been caught. That silence told me everything before she ever opened her mouth. She tried to lie first. Not well, but she tried. She said it was just someone from work. She said it was harmless flirting. She said I was jumping to conclusions. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't accuse her of anything specific. I just said, "Please don't insult me right now." That's when her face collapsed. She sat down at the kitchen table and covered her mouth like she was trying to hold something in. Tears came fast, ugly, uncontrolled. I remember thinking how unfair it was that she was crying when I was the one whose life had just cracked open. "It only happened once," she said. "Yesterday. It didn't mean anything. One day. One decision. One hotel room after drinks that." Went too far. I asked her who he was. A coworker. Married too. Someone I'd heard mentioned casually before, which somehow made it worse. This wasn't a stranger. This was a man who had been orbiting our lives quietly while I trusted her completely. I asked the questions everyone asks, even though the answers feel like knives. Did you plan it? No. Did you enjoy it? She hesitated. That pause did more damage than any word could have. I remember standing up and feeling detached from my own body, like I was watching a version of myself from across the room. I thought I might scream or punch something. Instead, I felt empty. Hollowed out. She kept talking. Apologizing. Explaining. Crying harder. Saying she felt neglected. Saying she felt invisible. Saying she didn't know why she did it, only that she hated herself for it now. All I could think was, you felt invisible, so you erased me. I went into the bathroom and locked the door. I sat on the floor with my back against the tub and tried to breathe. My hands were shaking so badly I couldn't tell if I was cold or terrified or both. That was the moment it fully hit me. My marriage, the thing I thought was unbreakable, had been destroyed in less than 24 hours. The next few days are a blur I still don't fully trust my memory of. We barely slept. When we did, it was on opposite sides of the bed, backs turned like strangers forced to share a space. Every time I closed my eyes, my brain filled in details I never asked for. I hated myself for imagining them, and I hated her for putting those images there. She swung wildly between panic and desperation. I'll quit my job. I'll block him. I'll do therapy, couples counseling, anything. It was a mistake. Please don't throw our family away over one mistake. That word, mistake, kept landing wrong. Mistakes are forgetting milk. Mistakes are missed turns. This felt like a choice. A series of choices. I asked her why she didn't stop. Why she didn't think of me. Of the kids. She said, I wasn't thinking. I just wanted to feel wanted. That answer shattered something in me I didn't know could break. Because I did want her. I just didn't want her loudly enough, romantically enough, dramatically enough. And now I was supposed to compete with a memory I could never erase. She begged me not to tell anyone. Not her parents. Not mine. Not our friends. She said it would ruin her. That people would judge her forever. What about me? What about the fact that I had to walk around pretending everything was fine while my chest felt like it was caving in? I told her I needed space. She cried harder. Said space was how marriages die. I didn't have the heart to say, this one already did. The kids noticed something was wrong. They always do. We lied badly. Said we were stressed. Said work was hard. I hated how quickly lying became normal. I found myself checking her phone when she was asleep, even though I swore I wouldn't. I needed to know if the betrayal was still happening. I hated the version of myself that did that, suspicious, paranoid, smaller. Every I love you, she said sounded rehearsed. Every touch felt like guilt, not affection. And the worst part? She kept saying she regretted it. That she would give anything to take it back. That one day ruined her life. I wanted to believe her. But I couldn't stop thinking. If it only took one day to destroy us, how fragile were we really? About a week later, the anger finally showed up. Up until then, I'd been operating on shock and survival mode. But one night, after the kids were asleep, something in me snapped. I asked her to sit down, and this time my voice wasn't calm. I asked for the full truth. Not the softened version. Not the "it meant nothing" script. She resisted at first. Said reliving it would only hurt me more. I told her that not knowing was already killing me. So she told me. She admitted she'd been emotionally close to him for months. Long conversations. Compliments. Complaining about me. Sharing things she hadn't shared with me in years. The physical part only happened once, but the intimacy? That had been growing quietly while I was home helping with homework and folding laundry. That felt like a second betrayal. I asked her if she loved him. She said no, too quickly. I asked if she would have kept seeing him if I hadn't come home early that day. She didn't answer. That silence was louder than any confession. I lost it. I yelled. I said things I'd been swallowing for days. That she'd humiliated me. That she'd turned me into a cliché. That every memory I had of us now felt contaminated. She cried and said I was being cruel. That she was already punishing herself enough. That she felt like a monster. And for a split second, I almost comforted her. That terrified me. Because I realized how easily I could disappear inside her guilt and forget my own pain. How quickly I could become the one managing her emotions while mine rotted quietly. That night, I slept on the couch. Not dramatically. I just couldn't breathe next to her. I stared at the ceiling until sunrise and thought about how strange it was that the person I trusted most in the world was now the source of my deepest fear. I wasn't sure yet if I was going to leave. But I knew one thing for certain. Whatever we were before was gone. And no amount of regret was going to bring it back. The real consequences didn't hit all at once. They seeped in. I couldn't focus at work. I'd reread the same email 10 times and still not know what it said. I stopped eating without noticing. Lost weight, people commented on, which felt ironic in the worst way. You look good, they said. I felt like I was dissolving. Trust didn't just break, it inverted. Every small thing became suspicious. Every late notification made my heart race. Every time she left the house, I wondered who she was really going to see. She kept insisting she'd cut him off. Showed me messages where she told him it was over. Blocked his number. Quit her job like she promised. On paper, she was doing everything right. But the damage wasn't logistical. It was psychological. I didn't feel chosen anymore. I felt settled for. The kids started asking questions. Why Mom cried so much? Why Dad slept on the couch? Why the house felt sad? That word, sad, nearly broke me. I realized whatever decision I made, they were already paying for something they didn't understand. We tried counseling. Sat on opposite ends of a couch while a stranger asked us to describe our pain. She cried. I went quiet. The therapist asked me if I still loved my wife. I didn't know how to answer. Love felt tangled up with resentment, grief, and fear. I loved who she was to me before. I loved the mother of my kids. But the woman who looked at me now, desperate, ashamed, pleading, felt unfamiliar. One night she said, I wake up every day terrified you're going to leave. I wanted to say, I wake up every day realizing you already did. Instead, I said nothing. Because the truth was this. Even if I stayed, I knew I'd never be the same husband again. I'd never love freely. I'd never feel safe without effort. And I didn't know if that was a price I was willing, or even able, to pay. So I started quietly preparing for the possibility that regret, no matter how deep, doesn't always equal repair. And that sometimes, one day really is enough to end a marriage, even if the consequences last a lifetime. I left 3 weeks later. Not in a dramatic way. No screaming, no bags thrown onto the lawn. I packed a suitcase while she was taking the kids to school and waited on the couch until she came back. When she saw it, she already knew. She begged. Again. Harder this time. Promised she'd spend the rest of her life making it up to me. Said she'd live with my anger, my distrust, whatever I needed. And that's when I realized something ugly and honest about myself. I didn't want to be her jailer. I didn't want to monitor her remorse. I didn't want to wake up every day measuring whether she was doing enough to earn my love back. I told her I wasn't leaving because I stopped loving her. I was leaving because I couldn't survive loving her like this. She collapsed. Actually collapsed. Crying, shaking, saying over and over, I ruined everything in one day. That sentence again. Like a mantra. Like if she said it enough, it would somehow reverse time. I moved into a small apartment nearby so I could still see the kids easily. The first night alone was brutal. The silence was loud. I sat on the floor and cried harder than I had at any point during the marriage itself. The kids took it the worst. We told them a version of the truth that wouldn't scar them, but they still felt the fracture. My oldest stopped talking much. My youngest asked when things would go back to normal. I didn't have an answer. My wife and I still talk. About schedules. About school. Sometimes about the past, though those conversations usually end in tears. She tells me she regrets it every day. That she'd give anything to undo it. That she didn't understand what she had until it was gone. I believe her. That's the cruelest part. Because regret doesn't rebuild trust. It doesn't unsee messages. It doesn't erase that pause before she answered my questions. I'm trying to rebuild myself now. Slowly. Some days I feel strong. Some days I feel like I lost something I'll never fully replace. Not just a marriage, but a version of myself who believed love was safe. If there's anything I've learned, it's this. One day can change everything. Not because it's the only thing that mattered, but because it reveals what was already broken. And even when the person who broke it is drowning in regret, sometimes the damage is still too deep to swim back from. It's been months now. She still tells me she regrets it. That one day destroyed everything. I don't doubt her pain. I just don't know what to do with it. I'm learning how quiet a life can get when trust is gone. How betrayal doesn't end with the confession, it echoes. In parenting moments. In empty evenings. In the way I second-guess my own judgment. I don't hate her. That surprises people when they hear it. I just can't go back to who I was with her. And she can't undo being the person who crossed that line. Some days I miss my marriage. Some days I miss the illusion more. If you're reading this and feeling unseen in your relationship, talk. Loudly. Honestly. Before silence turns into permission. Because regret might come later. But it won't save what one day can destroy. I still catch myself reaching for my phone to text her something stupid or familiar. A joke. A memory. Then I remember that familiarity is exactly what died. She says she's changed. Maybe she has. I've changed too, into someone more guarded, less hopeful. That part hurts more than the divorce paperwork ever did. Sometimes I wonder if I should have stayed. If forgiveness would have been easier than starting over. But then I remember the constant anxiety, the version of myself I didn't recognize, and I know I made the only choice I could live with. I didn't leave because of one bad day. I left because I couldn't build a future on something that broke so easily. And that truth still sits heavy with me, every single day. I don't know if this story has a clean ending. We co-parent. We're polite. Sometimes almost friendly. But there's a wall that never comes down, no matter how much time passes. I see it in her eyes too, the knowledge that we're permanently standing on opposite sides of something irreversible. People ask if I've moved on. I say, I'm okay, which feels easier than explaining that healing isn't linear. Some days I feel free. Other days I feel like I failed at the one thing I promised myself I'd protect. What stays with me the most isn't the anger anymore. It's the loss of certainty. The quiet understanding that love can be real, regret can be genuine, and still, it's not enough. I used to believe marriages end slowly. Now I know some end in a single day. And the rest of your life is just learning how to live with that fact. I've stopped asking, why, as much. Not because I understand it now, but because the question never gives anything back. It just keeps me stuck in the moment everything split open. What I live with now is acceptance, not peace. Acceptance that love doesn't always protect you. That loyalty can exist right up until it doesn't. That someone can regret hurting you and still be the reason you're broken. Some nights I still miss her. Not her as she is now, her as I believed she was. And I think that's the final loss people don't talk about. You don't just lose the marriage. You lose the story you told yourself about your life. I'm still learning how to write a new one. I don't know if I'll ever fully trust someone again. That thought scares me more than being alone. I'm dating technically. Coffee here and there. Small talk. I keep things light because anything deeper still feels dangerous. People say I'm emotionally reserved. They're not wrong. I learned the hard way what happens when you give someone full access to your life. Sometimes she tells me she still hopes that maybe one day I'll see how sorry she is and come back. I never know how to respond to that without hurting her, so I usually change the subject. Because the truth is, regret doesn't rebuild the version of me she broke. And I don't think she understands that I'm not punishing her by staying away. I'm just trying to survive what loving her cost me. Every now and then, someone tells me this was salvageable. That people come back from worse. I nod and let them believe that, because arguing feels pointless. What they don't see is how betrayal rewires you. How it turns love into something conditional, cautious, smaller. I didn't want a marriage where I had to keep my guard up forever. She didn't just lose a husband that day. She lost the version of me who believed forever was automatic. And I didn't just lose a wife. I lost the certainty that home was safe. I'm still standing. That counts for something. But some losses don't bleed, they just quietly change who you are. I've learned that closure isn't a conversation you have, it's a decision you make alone. I don't wait for apologies anymore. I don't reread old messages. I don't ask myself what I could have done differently. That road never ends anywhere good. What I carry now is quieter. A permanent awareness that love is fragile, and trust is never guaranteed, no matter how long you've earned it. She regrets one day. I live with the aftermath of it. And maybe that's the final truth of it all. Some mistakes end in forgiveness. Others end in distance, and a life that looks nothing like the one you thought you were building.